Come on!
Welcome to Boycott Activity YouTube. Today we're gonna go a little left. We usually talk about gaming content and news. Today we're gonna talk about my favorite team in the National Football League. I know it's a little left, but really this channel is to get things off my mind, be a little therapeutic, and if you can relate, even better. Today we're gonna talk about high hopes. We're gonna talk about um, playoff hopes for the New York Jets. They are now 1-3. That usually doesn't spell great playoff chances, but a miraculous thing recently happened where a third year quarterback seemingly is making a turnaround from what seemed like would be a short career, um, and probably leaving the NFL within 5 years, never to be heard again, to displaying a, I would say, above average skill and productivity in one of the most viewed games in recent NFL history. That would be Zach Wilson and the Jets versus the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, with Taylor Swift being the center and the selling point. Now that she's with a Kansas City Chiefs player called Travis Kelsey, for those who don't know, if you've been living under a rock. Um, so he showed up and showed out. Zach Wilson did. The team played better. The offensive coordinator coached better, called plays better, and it seems like it's a turnaround now. Do you really have a chance when you turn a team around at 1-3? It's the chances seem slim. I must admit, but I think, and I've been speaking to other fans in the community. We think that the Jets have a 4-loss leash, right? So 4 losses, you have 13 games left. You'd have to win 9 more games. That's 9-4. A good team can go 9-4. A really good team can be 9-4. So we're going to talk about playoff hopes. We're going to dissect what the Jets are looking at for the rest of the season. So they started off against the Bills. They lost. No, they beat the Bills. They lost to the Cowboys. Lost to the Patriots. Lost to the Chiefs in a really close one. Now let's look what we have coming up. So the Broncos. Let's see. They've given up 70 points, which is close to the record for most points given up by a football team. I wouldn't say they are tanking for Caleb Williams, but it might be in their thought process. They just really recently released one of their top free agents, but he wasn't playing well. And I've recently watched a Broncos podcast which showed that a bunch of their defensive players are returning from injury to practice. We don't know if they're going to be in the game. Last year, the Broncos was one of, if not the best defense last year. And what may have been holding them back was a bunch of unfortunate injuries, which those players might be coming back. So I think there is reason for caution against the Broncos. Also, adding to possibly a rejuvenated defense, not a high probability, but chances of it. Um, Russell Wilson has been rejuvenated. He's been playing pretty well. He actually, even in a 70-point loss to the Dolphins, he had similar numbers to Tua Tagovailoa. And that says a lot. Even in what seemed to be a blowout for most of the game against the Bears, he had really good numbers. So there is caution. There is cause for caution, but I would call the game against the Broncos a win. Right. Moving over to the Eagles. The Eagles haven't been playing up to their Super Bowl level in recent games. They seem a little vulnerable. I'd be honest with you, I don't know exactly what's going on for them. With them, Jalen Hurts has been above average, but not his, possibly MVP level. Not playing to that level like he was last year. They have a great offensive line, possibly the best. Two really good wide receivers. Typically a really good defensive line. I would say that the Eagles are more vulnerable than usual. The Jets have never beaten them in the history of their franchise. I don't know if that has any effect or is looming over their heads, at least psychologically. I'm gonna call that a loss, even though the Eagles have been underperforming. Jets versus Giants. I think the Giants are just, Saquon is not very healthy, and Daniel Jones, he's not really playing up to what he was last year, and last year wasn't amazing. I'm gonna call this one a win. He already seems to have issue with that Seattle kind of defense, so I'm gonna call this one a win. Chargers. Now, usually the Chargers we consider this a loss. One thing about the Jets schedule, I will say this: it's a possibility that some of these teams that have started off underperforming, some of them might be on the fence about tanking. So the Chargers might be in that position by the time the Jets get to them. They have been seriously underperforming. Now, they're not getting Caleb Williams, but they might be tanking for defense or offensive lineman or wide receiver. I'm going to call this a win. They've seriously been underperforming. The Raiders, I don't think they've not been playing very well. Same thing as the Chargers. So I'm gonna call this a win. So far we have one loss. And we can only afford 4. So the Bills, the Bills, I think they're gonna split with the Bills. That's a loss. The Dolphins, I think they're gonna split with the Dolphins. Will this be the game that the Jets win? I'm gonna say the Dolphins may be at their most vulnerable at this point. They might need some changes after what the Bills did to them. it may take some time for them to change their offensive scheme. Now, they don't need that for everybody. Not everybody's the Bills, but I would say the Jets is a good defense that can kind of replicate what the Bills did to the Dolphins. And last year, they played the Dolphins pretty well. I'm going to say this is the win that they get from the Dolphins. Falcons, they don't really have a quarterback. Can they run all over the Jets? Possibly. Very possible. They have a really good running back. And I'm going to call this a win. I'm going to call this a loss. The Texans, to me, is the team no one sees coming. What I think is going on with the Texans is they have that San Francisco Shanahan DNA in their coaching staff. And, like the Dolphins, like the Rams and all that stuff like that, they're the next team in that line to really, really blow up. They have the quarterback for it. They seemingly have the defense for it. I'm gonna call this a loss for the Jets. Nobody knows what's coming from the Texans. This is the Dolphins win. That's the split. I say we beat the Commanders. Right, they're not a great team. The Browns, I don't like the time we're playing the Browns. I'm gonna say I hope. Let me see. Okay, Nick Chubb. I believe Nick Chubb is out for this season. And they're currently playing a backup quarterback, DTR, I think is his name. If that lasts the whole season, I'm gonna call this a win. And I think we're gonna split with the Patriots. That's 10-7. One of the reasons I think 10-7 might be enough is a lot of the teams that are ahead of us play in the same division. Like the Jaguars, Titans. I think a lot of these teams are going to knock each other out. I think it's the Jaguars, Titans, Chargers. Right, so they're going to knock each other out. And those are the teams that are mainly in front of us. Now, the AFC North is kind of scary too. So I'm gonna have to worry about them as well. The Ravens are a lock. Let's talk about the teams that are a lock. The Ravens, Bills, Dolphins. Who else is a lock? I would say Ravens, Bills, Dolphins, and Chiefs are a lock. Right? Chargers. I think the Chargers are going to have some trouble. But yeah, the AFC South is where a lot of teams are going to really knock each other out. Like everybody on the AFC South is 2-2 right now. Colts, Texans, Titans, Jaguars. Texans are going to slap a lot of people. But between them playing each other, a lot of them are going to knock each other out of the way. And I think that's why we might go 10-7, and 10-7 might be enough to make it. Like I was saying, the AFC North, Ravens are like the Steelers. Seem like they're having a little trouble. They could get right back into form, don't get me wrong. The Browns are having quarterback trouble. And with the Bengals, Joe Burrow, I don't know what's going on with Joe Burrow. I don't know if he's going to play the rest of the season. So I think that's the Jets' playoff hopes. I think they can possibly make it to 10-7. I have a feeling if the NFL is scripted, this was just a way for them to hype us up. That's the Jets' script, is to hype us up and then crush us. It might be they're hyping Zach Wilson up just to crush us the next game against the Broncos. We're probably going to be crushed by that because we're who loses to the Broncos? Or they might just be hyping us up to have a 9-win record and be on the verge of the playoffs and lose some stupid game, maybe against the Patriots or something like that. But I hope you guys appreciate this video. What do you guys think about the Jets playoff hopes? Do I have it right about what teams might knock each other out, what teams might be locks to make the playoffs? What do you think about the Texans as well too? I think they're scary. Let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. And thank you very much. Goodbye.